put another world in the dun bin, Ronnisa Plains. That is, minus the trees, the effects with the cloud, and the rest of the terrain, of course. And you might notice that there's a lot of hills, and then some. A whole lot of hills. Well, I'll get to that a little bit later, but I want to show you something else. You might be wondering, what's with these things here? Okay, well, if you go down, bounceability works wonders for that. You can actually see, just barely, that these are actually power lines. And this also seems a little different here too, in a kind of a strange way. And why is that? Easy. This is the grass effect. Yeah, the grass effect. You remember that I had quite a while ago? Yep, I used to have it, but since I transformed to using the terrain instead of a flat level ground all the way through, yeah, you probably get the idea. But to demonstrate everything else, nice view, isn't it? Well, I'll pretty much explain everything else using this familiar pyramid-shaped thing. But if you look closely, you can actually see these poles are actually come away from the road here. They're actually 25 feet away from it. They stand about 36 feet, give or take a little, tall, and they're probably around 300-ish feet apart from each other. The only unknown I had is the thickness of the wire on these. But either way, it's quite easy to see the traffic on here. Very easy to see the traffic. And all those lines. You can see the individual lanes here real easy. You can see the lines here if you look closely enough. What's with this? That's actually a lane divider. The highway is unchanged from the previous case. The big change, if this is any hint, are those hills. The rain is nothing new either. So, let's go look at some of these hills now. And you might be noticing, if you look real closely here, you can actually see an odd little gap there. I think there's something there, but I can't tell. But yeah, at about 3,400 you start seeing the gaps around that point. Yep, I just saw it coming in. But at about this height, which is kind of about a little above what you'd see in the jumbo level, that's, well, the point at which you'll see the gap between the hills. But to cover everything else beyond that, boy do I need height. And no, that water is actually not supposed to be there, but then again, this is just my test level. You won't actually see water like that until World 5. Or was it 6? 5's got a pool, a big pool. After all, what do you suppose a lake is? But anyway, that aside, what is with this? That's actually a campground. These random colored parts are actually tents. And if these here are buildings where you get dressed and such, so you can get your swimsuit on, put stuff in lockers and the like. But if you look real closely, you can actually see picnic tables and two variations of barbecue or grilling type areas where you can cook. But this is way high density for what I'm after anyway, so I'm probably going to have to end up redoing that a little bit anyway. And of course, way out here, you can see these hills just past the river. And just so you know, see where these hills kind of otherwise end up at? This distance to the edge of the river here, this is a 250-foot wide beach, by the way. This is 250-foot wide beach. And there's also that same distance from these hills to the beach as here. Well, actually, this is slightly more, by only a few hundred feet, I think it was. But it's very slight, almost unnoticeable. But if you look real closely, I'll make the mouse cursor parallel with the top, you can actually see really faint hills right there. That's the peak. So, what about the rest of the upper areas? Well, that I'm going to have to show you, and for that I'm going to have to go up. And boy do I mean up. Well, that was convenient. Hit platforms from their sides, and I love that flickering effect of that beach in the far end of the river. That's my favorite part of this world. Oh yeah, another difference. The river, instead of being 192 coordinate units down, it's only 128. Why only 128? Easy. What do you suppose rain does to a river when it's getting channeled down from all these hills and stuff that surround the area? It ends up going into the river, which inevitably causes it to get higher. But you remember this platform, right? And how it just suddenly darted up at high speed? Well, something seems strange about it. How come it's not moving? Well, there's actually a good reason for that, actually. What's the reason? It's actually a cross between these static platforms, platforms that don't move, and dynamic platforms, platforms that do move. Okay, so what is it called? It's called an elevator platform. Now you'd think, okay, elevator. That's going to be convenient. So, how do you use them? You just simply go on them, like that. However, okay, if you jump, you got a problem there. But notice that all of a sudden it just went straight down. Well, as long as you're on the elevator platform, it'll go up. If you get off, well, it'll go back down. So, in order to show you the really high areas, you're inevitably going to have to stay on it. And yeah, I like this flickering effect on this beach here, if you can barely see that. That's what I was referring to. Those clouds are getting closer. And as I have no idea what the cause of it is, I'm going to have to investigate. Look at all that speed. That's the coordinate units per frame is actually the game's back-end speed units, by the way. But yep, this area up here is really nothing different. And I remember it's 1776. Got something else to pay attention to. And I fixed that bug too. Notice how X speed is 0? Used to be when I had 0 at certain times, it would actually end up causing this X position to change. That's because I overlooked something. But that is what I was referring to. I love that wagon wheel effect too. But anyway, what's this about trees? Easy. I'll have to demonstrate that in, well, the next bit. And this is what I mean by trees. Yeah, they look like kids type drawings from like a 2-year-old or something drawing a simple tree or something. But since I don't have any systems for making the trees, well, there had to be some way I could actually test it. And that's just pretty much what this is. It's just a way for me to test it. Okay, but this gives you the idea on the kind of spacing and the such that I'm after. However, I need this is probably like an oak or an elm or something. I don't know the various tree species and the such. This is a little more like a pine. But I need 2 varieties of each, and I need a base height of 512 pixels to start with. Okay, so if you know this game runs at 1024 by 768, this obviously cannot be 256. Or 512. They're actually 256, but that's because they have a scaling of 2, if the relative motion is any hint there. Those beyond have 4, and this has 6. But this is about the kind of spacing I'm after. Except delete this, keep, and that's for that row. Delete this, keep. And that kind of does give you the idea on the kind of spacing I'm kind of after, but it's just testing, if you know what I mean. But anyway, this video was created by Ulillillia. Thank you for watching.